For millions of years, the rainforests have served as the lung and soul of the earth. Sadly, it has taken only a century of human intervention to destroy what nature has designed to last forever. Our earth is ailing, polluted, and careening toward man-made disasters. When will the plunder and destruction end? Should we hold our future generations to ransom due to our failure to act? Revisiting this lonely and deserted trail is like walking down a memory lane. This was where a vibrant little village once stood, but now it's all quiet and peaceful, punctuated occasionally by the sound of forest inhabitants and the rustling of leaves from the gust of wind that whistles through the trees. My life's journey has brought me to many modern and remote places, but I still have this unyielding desire to get back to nature. I've always been fascinated by its stunning natural beauty, majesty, endless bounty, and its aesthetic charm. The rainforest often reminds me of nature's grandeur. It has taught me the meaning of humility and made me understand the intimacy and interdependency of the living systems. Unfortunately, nature also reminds me of our own destructive capabilities, especially when these natural processes are interfered with and ripped apart due to our flagrant disregard for the environment. Our rainforests are now under immense pressure due to massive deforestation and excessive amounts of carbon dioxide being pumped into the atmosphere.
There's a word called sequester. Sequester means to put something away, okay, to put something out of reach or out of touch. Forests sequester carbon. So if you grow a tree and the tree stays there for 300 years, you basically keep all that carbon in that tree away from the atmosphere for 300 years. Okay. If you cut that down and you plant grass instead, there's a lot less amount of carbon in the grass. Right? I mean, anybody who looks at a forest compared to a grassland can see there's a lot less carbon in the savanna or in the grassy yard than there is in a forested place.
Nature acts as a source and a sink. The source being the air we breathe, the water we drink, and so on. The sink, nature accepts the emissions that we put out. Now, trees are carbon sinks. Now, the problem with what is happening right now with the discussions on emissions is that people are talking about emissions, they have forgotten the sinks. The sinks that can absorb the carbon or the greenhouse gases.
I grew up in a largely modern environment at the time when the world was going through a rapid process of economic modernization and industrialization. And that process appears unstoppable. It all began with the advent of Industrial Revolution in the West back in the 18th century. The process led to a massive transformation of the human society and the world that we live in, and we have never looked back ever since.
The developed countries, when they grew in the 19th, 20th centuries, during that process, there were several things, in fairness to them, we did not know. They grew rapidly at the expense of a significant amount of environmental degradation. True. But right now, when India, China want to grow, right, people are talking about ecological linkages and the need for China, India to control pollution, cut back on emissions. The issue here is that now we have scientific understanding of the ecological linkages across the world.
I know that many countries want to grow and prosper, and we can hardly blame them for aspiring for something better. I'm deeply amazed at how much the world has changed and how fast Singapore has grown. I used to take buses packed like sardines back in the late 60s and early 70s to get around, because that was the only mode of transportation that I could afford to take. Now, many people drive big and powerful cars, completely oblivious to the damage that these machines have done to the environment. Cars release carbon dioxide, which acts as one of those gases that trap heat inside the Earth, adding to the global warming. Despite our small size, we can't run away from the reality that we are also one of the contributors to climate change. But to turn back the clock won't be that easy, but we can all do something to minimize the impact. Just like many countries in the West, countries in Asia like China and India have also the legitimate rights to grow and prosper. But after many decades of industrial developments and massive utilization of nature's resources, the Earth is beginning to show signs of weakening.
The Great Barrier Reef, all the great fringing reefs around Southeast Asia, those actually sequester carbon as well. So when a little coral creature makes its shell and grows bigger and bigger every year, that little coral sequesters carbon. And it might do it for 100 years or for 400 years. Some heads that we sample in my own research, my own earthquake research in West Sumatra, are 400 years old. They go back 400 years. So all that many tons of carbon in one colony of coral, if in fact the oceans become too acidic, corals can no longer form skeletons. So things that we're doing right now that nature is naturally doing to sequester carbon, that's beginning to slow down as the temperatures warm up.
Nature has a way of telling us when the utilization of the Earth's resources has gone far enough and when the threshold has been crossed. The overload of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which results from the constant burning of fossil fuels, coupled with the uncontrolled deforestation, have made it difficult for nature to bear. Many natural disasters and change in the weather patterns of late have been linked to global warming. Floods and droughts have become more severe these days, and scientists are expecting more tidal wave and beach erosion on the coasts of countries along the coastal regions.
I wouldn't agree. I would say that the frequency of extreme weather events, you see several such events happening around the world. The disastrous forest fires in southern Europe, the once-in-a-lifetime floods in Manila and other parts of Philippines, Vietnam. We see extreme weather events and a greater frequency of extreme weather events such as floods, typhoons, hurricanes, heat waves, fires, etc. So I think that the majority of world opinion, including world leaders and public opinion, accepts that climate change has been set into motion.
It's not unexpected that typhoon will come. What's amazing is the water it brings from the rainfall is so concentrated, so large, they cause really the major loss. And also, the rate at which the typhoon are formed was much more frequent than what we would really anticipate.